What's up, everybody? It's Jack and Dan.
And today, we're finally going to fill up this tank in our pond.
Yeah, we have this inverted 90-gallon tank that we put here. We've kind of showed it in the last couple of videos. We positioned it kind of with some cinder blocks and, you know, all that stuff. And we're kind of reached the point now where we got a lot of the other stuff done we wanted to do. And we're going to be basically sucking the air out of it, making a vacuum, sucking the air into it, so that we can have this, like, kind of inverted window into our pond.
Yeah.
Now, initially, we had thought about doing a big dome, right? And we got a hold of this dome place in, like, Maine, and we talked to them. And it was actually really cool, because they said, hey, because we told them we were YouTubers, told them we did this, and they said, hey, we just talked to another YouTuber you might have heard of. You remember who it was that they said?
Mr. Beast, yeah.
Mr. Beast.
Because I assume you guys know the Squid Games challenge he did a long time ago. He made it in real life. And you know how, I don't know if you watch the show, but there's like this big piggy bank where they store all the money.
Big, huge dome of money.
It's made of like silicone, so I'm assuming he was reaching out to them to make something like that.
Well, that's what they said, yeah. And it was kind of funny because they were like, you may have heard of this guy. And I'm like, you mean the biggest YouTuber like of all time? Yeah, we heard of him. So we thought that was kind of neat. However, this tank that we got from our LFS, this 90-gallon inverted tank, costs like a tenth of what that dome would have cost. Plus, it didn't really go as high as we wanted to go. It is very expensive. They actually use like a vacuum form to make those acrylic domes. Plus, we weren't sure if it could withstand the vacuum unless we made it really thick, and then it would be distorted more. And we're not Mr. Beast, so we didn't really want to afford it.
We don't have that much money.
Yeah, they said that the huge globe one that they made him was like tens of thousands of dollars or something. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, we're not doing that. This thing was $200 from our LFS, and it's going to make an awesome window, kind of inverted tank into our thing. But we thought that was a neat story. There's not a lot of places that make huge domes and stuff like that. You know, we looked and searched, and we decided to just do this. So anyway, we're still going to our plan was to call this whole pond Thunderdome.
Who ran Barter Town?
Master Blaster runs Barter Town.
Okay, you said a fair fight. What do you mean by that?
Thunderdome. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
How do I get in there?
That's easy. Big fight.
You know, because of like Mad Max, right?
Yes, everyone should know that.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
This is Thunderdome. Depth is listening.
Of course, everybody knows those awesome movies. Fantastic. We love them. We love sci-fi stuff. We love futuristic stuff like that. But here's the thing. We're still going to call it Thunderdome because it's an awesome name. So that's what our pond name is. It's Thunderdome. And we're going to make the dome part today, even though it's really more of an inverted tank than a dome. If we end up being millionaires someday, we'll make a huge dome for about $10,000.
We have the money, but we're not going to spend it on that.
Well,
because that's all we could spend it on. Then.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems a little ridiculous. This whole entire project, this whole entire indoor pond is costing less than $1,000, like for everything involved and everything, which we think is actually pretty good for how it's going to come out. We would never.
I think the tub was probably the most expensive thing.
Yeah, it was. Well, and getting it here because it had to be freighted here and stuff. Quite honestly, I just would never have invested in that kind of thing. Maybe if we win the lottery, we'll make a huge real Thunderdome. But in the meantime, this is what it's going to be. So we're going to kind of show you how we're going to do this. Let's go. All right. It's a nice sunny morning, isn't it, Lacey? She's over here checking out what we're doing, basking in the sun. So here's what we're going to do, guys. If you've never heard of the bucket head, this is a very small portable shop vac. Basically, Home Depot has these as like a top. We got this, I don't know, I want to say 10 or 12 years ago to basically clean our fireplaces. It was like $9.99 on sale. It's just the top of a shop vac that goes on a bucket. You can use any 5-gallon bucket. It fits right on there and clips. And it's a wet dry vac, and it comes with a couple of those filters, as you can see hanging down. Of course, it has an automatic shut off if it fills up too much. For like $10, you can't beat the deal. You can buy accessories. These are just old accessory tubes and stuff that I had from old vacuums that I've kept over the years because I keep stuff like that in the shed. You never know when you're going to need it. So really, really cool idea. Again, if you've never heard of a bucket head, definitely look into it. And I think that there's other knockoffs of it now since it's come out over the last decade or two. But anyway, we're basically going to take this wet dry vac. We're going to plug it in right here. And we're gonna take these tubes, we're gonna put this tube up inside here because that's a lot of gallons of water. Now we can just manually take a little tube and suck the air out of like your aqua bridges or a small vacuum, like a 10 or 20 gallon. But there's so much pressure, it would literally pull the tongue right out of my mouth if I tried to do it.
Yeah,
right?
That would not be okay.
Right, it would not be. So we're gonna use the vacuum. We're gonna kind of show you how to do this. Now, one of the things we wanted to draw out and point out was, like we mentioned in earlier videos, because this is upside down, the top frame of a fish tank or an aquarium is not necessarily sealed. If you look through the inside, they do kind of hold it on, but it's not going to be sealed like the bottom. You can see the bottom has silicone all around because if the glass kind of leaks on the bottom, this is kind of an extra, fall safe security. This top frame is really just on here to look good and to help the glass from bowing. That's why there's a center brace. Now, this center brace isn't really going to be an issue for the turtles. As you can see, these are huge areas and they'll be able to come up in here and they'll be able to go down and get out. Again, we are going to leave some air at the top and they know what to do. They can go up there, they can take a breath. They'll say, hey, this is a cool little area and cave, just like in nature. I mean, in nature, they're going to come across logs and caves and they're going to go up in there and go, hey, there's no sun in here. There's nowhere else for us to hang out. We're going to go back down. And they're going to go back down. But it's actually kind of cool. And the fish and them kind of know what to do. We've had vacuums in many of our tanks. Anyway, what we did as a little fall safe method is we put a bead of silicone all the way around this tank because we are not taking the water up above this and we want to make sure it's sealed. So if the water only comes to here, technically air could suck through this and go up into this tank. And so we just took a little bead of caulk, took 10 minutes. We went around it and did that. Now, the other thing is, one of the reasons we did that is because measurement-wise, we wanted it to come up as high as we could. And it's going to be a lot easier to just clean this and have the glass separate from this so we can wipe the glass if it gets splashed from the turtles. He's watching us. Which one is that? I think that's Kame. Yeah. They're watching us. They've been out here eating their bone. Where did their bone go? Oh, their bone's over here. We do keep cuttlefish bones in here for them. I think Ice Digi was just out here taking a couple bites. So yeah, we just kind of keep that in all of our turtle tanks, always have. They just kind of munch on it, and sometimes the fish and stuff do too. So anyway, this is coming along really nice. You could see they were actually just up here. They get up here no problem, even though the water was down a little bit. They use their feet and hands and go up on these other things, which is why we did this way, and they come up on here. And they love basking here. And there's actually room on one side for all three of them. That's how big this is. But we kind of made two, just in case when they get bigger and stuff like that, or if we have to add more turtles or whatever. So we're going to go ahead and set this up, and we're going to show you how we're going to suck this water out. The thing that's a little bit different is, since this only holds so much volume, we're going to have to be adding the water through the tube. Show them how this hose is right behind you. We're going to be adding the water from the hose and then filling it because
the more water that gets in there, it's going to be too much, so it's not going to have enough in the pond.
Yeah, it's going to level out.
Yeah, so this is going to go in there while we put new stuff in there.
Yeah, so we may have to raise it another inch and then suck some more out. So we'll show you. Now there we go, we're filling that up. Again, we did a video, I want to say a little bit ago, where we kind of showed how to make something like this off your faucet. This is just the little Python autofill you could buy for $5. You could put a garden hose right to it. We did a big unboxing for Hygger's vac/fill empty whatever water changer device and gave that away for our 13,000 subscriber giveaway. And we basically made one of these. Very inexpensive, easy thing to do. We're just going to keep this right underneath the sink right there. And then we have it for this entire room, for these tanks and for this. So we're going to kind of fill this as high as it goes. And then we're going to go ahead and start to deal with sucking the air out of this. So as you can see, it's just kind of coming up to the frame now. We're going to fill it as high as we can get it without overflowing it right here. And then we're going to stick this vacuum up in here and start to fill this tank. All right, I've got this panned out a little bit. Obviously, we've got this sitting right up here on the edge. I'm sitting on the edge. I'm going to be holding the tube while Jack turns it on and off. Now, this doesn't necessarily seal, so when it does get to a certain amount, it's just going to stop because the water will be below it. And I may have to take the tube out from the vacuum or the air will come in through the tube. But we'll see how that goes. I'm going to go ahead and hold this up like this, just kind of as high as I can get it for now. So I'm holding it like that. And again, it is going to get some water in it, so definitely do not use a regular vacuum. Just going to go ahead and turn that on. And you can see it's filling right away. Okay. Now, so what happened here is it took that much in, a few inches, before it started, reaching that. And when you've got little waves and movement of the water, little air is going to burp in. So we made it a few inches. That's not bad. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to keep doing this. We're going to fill, vacuum out, and we're going to see if it's going to hold it and everything. We may just actually leave this running and just vacuum out a little bit at a time. We'll see. You can see they're pretty curious about it already. The nice part is that this will kind of fill up and just be super cool. We'll be able to look right through it. We'll be able to see the filter on the other side when we get it done, and the light will come through. We may have some plants on top. We'll be able to kind of wipe the outside pretty easily with a rag just by leaning over. Now the inside, we did recently get an awesome floatable magnet from Higer, right? Which works great in our tanks, but
if we were to do that, it would float up, and then we would have to reach all the way in there.
Right. The bad part about it is if we have some air here like this, and we're using the magnetic one, and it falls off, it could actually float to the top, and we might not be able to get it back down. So we have our old original magnet we used to use. We're actually going to be rehabbing that because it's filthy and falling apart. We're going to fix it up, take it apart, clean it, and then just glue like a new scrubby on it. We're going to use that in here, and we'll just be able to go along and clean it if any kind of algae grows in there or whatever like that. If it falls off, it's just going to fall down, and we'll just be able to grab it and stick it back up there. So it's a good thing we kept it. That's why you always keep the old stuff, dude, right?
Yep.
Never know when you're going to need it. Just like this vac tubing and stuff. So we're just filling this up all the way. We're going to let it go as high as it possibly can go. And then we're just going to keep sucking the air out. Okay, so on our second vacuum, we found out that the vacuum does leave the air back in. We left the tube in there, and we just figured we'd turn it on and off as it was filling. But the water went down because the tube actually allows air passage through the vacuum. So you have to actually remove the tube, which isn't that big of a deal. That was the second vacuum, and it's already, I don't know, about a third or fourth of the way up. So this may take 5 or 6 times, but basically we're just going to keep putting the vacuum in there and keep sucking it out as it's filling. We're going to kind of show you what happens. Now, again, as we suck out with this vac to go up in here, if it goes below this, you'll see the air just kind of rush in. And again, not necessarily a bad thing. Here's Kame. She's checking out the scene. The other thing you could do, which some people do, you can actually use this to clean your tank. As you can see, we're doing this. You're just getting a little bit of water. You can actually use this to clean your gravel. Some people use wet vacs to do that. We could actually just come over here every month or so, every couple of weeks, and we can just suck out the stuff if there's problems and just dump this outside. That would be an easy thing to do in the winter. But we can also use our vac and put an ending on that. We have... Yeah, we have Larry. Larry wouldn't leave us alone. He kept biting the tube and stuff, so we put him over here in the sink to hang out. So just wait a minute, dude. We're almost done, and you're going to love your new tank. He's so funny. He's so little compared to the girls, aren't you? Say hi.
He gets so mad.
He's like, I want to go in there. Yeah, I know, but you got to hang on because you keep biting everything. He's actually not a biter, but he just
nibbles.
Biting the vacuum and everything. Oh, look, both of them are in there. Both of the girls are in there. They're like, check this out. This is cool. So they're going to actually be able to go up in here and look out the window and stuff. All right. So let's just throw this in here again. This is how I'm doing it. I just take the vac. I put it up into the corner. Jess going to turn it on. We'll show you guys what happens. Okay, so now I have to take that back out. So you can see it goes up, and then when the air reaches the bottom, the air kind of burps up in there, and then we have to fill it up more. And again, that's only the third time, so it's probably only going to take about 3 or 4 more times. They're digging it. They're like, cool, man, this is awesome.
They just float up with the
She used to be in the big 220. Remember, we had the 220 gallon. We had a big vacuum at the top of the 220 that came out the top and went all the way to the ceiling. And she would go up there all the time and look around the room and then go back down. Okay, we're doing another vacuum. All right, that was a good one. About 2 more maybe. All right, so one of the things we're doing right now as this is filling is we're kind of checking for leaks. This is a new tank, and so in between, if there was any sort of leak, it would be basically sucking air through that, and this water would be going down. Ultimately, when we get it to the level we want, we're gonna mark it with blue tape and let it sit for a week or two to make sure that it's not going down at all. It should not, and if it is, we're gonna have to find a leak. Looking around here, there isn't any sort of gas or air bubbles coming out around the frame, so we're really happy we reinforced it with this extra silicone. Look at Kame. They do like to go in these cinder blocks too. They do fit pretty easily, and Ice Digi kind of goes through their diagonal because she's a little bigger, and one of the reasons we wanted to put those was little hiding places for them, but also hiding places for the fish when they go in here, and that they could pass through them. But anyway, back to what I was saying about the leaks. We don't see any sort of air whatsoever coming out around the edge, and the pressure's getting about halfway full here. So if there was, a leak, you would see air, basically you would see, air kind of popping in there through the outside. So air would be going down and inside. And we don't see any of that happening. So I am very glad that we reinforced that. And you can see in here that I really shoved it down. Well, over here on this side, you can see that I really shoved it down inside that crack. Say, hey, what's up? She's like, this is so cool. We've got an extra 100 gallons here almost. So yeah, it's gonna be about 400 gallons. Now the bad part about this is that, let me turn this off real quick. Since we're talking, we want to overflow. The bad part about this is, if this were to leak and we were not to notice it, or if it were to leak quickly, that means that about 80 gallons, because it's not going to be the entire tank, 80 to 90 80 gallons or so, is going to go down into this tank. And this is only a 300 gallon tank, so obviously it's not going to have room. So it will overflow, unfortunately.
But we also have these bricks here, so it won't go.
Right,
It's kind of like seep down in there, which we can clean, but it's not fun to do anyways.
No, it would stink. But the cool part is the house is graded this way, so it would go toward here, and we would be able to clean it up and contain it. It wouldn't go toward the bedrooms and stuff. Well, not too much.
No, yeah, because you have the mat there and the bricks.
But that's kind of the risk. That's kind of the risk of doing this. We could have made it a little lower and made the water in the pond lower so that it would have been able to take that if that happens. But we don't want to do it that way. So it is what it is. Look at her. She's checking them out. Lace, it's okay. She got used to them over there, and then she didn't see them for a long time because we moved them over here. And now that she can see them again, she's like, what's going on in here?
She thinks it's like dark magic.
Look at her. She's like, where are they? Now I see them. Look at Ice Digi. Hey, what's up? Yeah, they know right away. They know how to get down. The other two got down, and they just kind of go up and down. They'll figure it out literally in a matter of minutes. Okay, Lace. Yeah, she'll get used to it again, too. Anytime we make any sort of change, she's always like, what's going on? All right, we got the tubes and everything all put away. This is a handy-dandy little rock. This is actually, remember we got this rock at, was it like the Ben Franklin store?
Yeah, it was an old store, yeah.
Poseidon's, what was that little pet store in the basement? It was like 100 years old or something.
Neptune's Cave.
Neptune's Cellar, yeah. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link in the description. That's a really cool time. This guy gave us this big old, huge, awesome, holy rock, along with a 15-gallon tank, which we're actually going to be using. In fact, we might use this rock in that tank. But anyway, that's a cool little thing we could use over here to hold the hose. So it's all done. Basically what we did is we left it a couple inches down just so we could kind of see the turtles, if they kind of bring their heads up. Not sure where we're going to go from here. Probably going to start working on the filter. We just kind of wanted to get all of this done. Again, going to kind of pan out, just kind of take it all in. Again, that filter will not be there. You'll be able to go on both sides. We're going to have plants and all that. The filter is going to be right through the Thunderdome or the vacuum inverted tank. and it's going to be underneath the window there and most likely sitting on those bricks. Now, what we do have to be careful of is we don't want, if that filter is going in, we don't want too much air, because if that air goes up underneath this inverted tank, it of course will fill it with air. What we did do is we took a little piece of tape and we marked this. We're just going to keep a really close eye on this for the next couple hours. It's really I'm trying to make a video here. Lace, you barking at Miles? Miles is the neighbor's dog. So basically, it's kind of hard to tell if this goes up or down a little bit just because it's so big. So we put a mark over here. We're just going to keep a close eye on it, and we're just going to see what happens. All right, so that was the next phase in our pond build. That was kind of the interesting part. We're just going to kind of let this sit for a week or two, watch the level, make sure there's no leak or anything going on. It was kind of neat, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
They're digging it. We're just going to keep kind of adding things. We're not going to necessarily put a lot of plants in. We did already talk about the fact that they ate all the plants that we had in here. The water lettuce, the water hyacinth. These guys are animals, man. They just chowed down everything. We didn't really want to put a lot of plants in here. We didn't want to block anything. Chances are what we're going to be doing is putting plants around the room and just taking water out of here to water it with, so that we can have plants year-round and food year-round, especially tomatoes and certain things that are very hard to find in Cleveland in the wintertime. And most likely then we'll just top it off. So we'll kind of like be doing water changes, because I can easily take a, like a water thing, scoop some out, pour it into the plants, and then autofill it right out of the sink like that. We'll see how we're going to do it eventually, and that may change over time, but we're going to get to work on devising what we're going to do for a filter and all that for this. And that'll be in the next video or two or something like that. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Look at her. That's exactly why we made the wall the way we did. When people were asking, we wanted them to be able to kind of just look over, but not be able to reach. Isn't that cool? And they can't get their footing. They slip because of the tile. It's okay, Lace. You're going to get used to it again. Remember when they used to be in the front room with me and she was so upset and then she forgot all about him again? She's like, wait, these guys are new. No, they're the same guys you know. You already know them.
Oh, it's okay.
She's so funny. Look at her. She's like, I want to see them. I want to eat them. But look at her tail wagging. She's so funny.
Climb up.